Earlier today, I posted a picture of this gentleman right here, and everybody pretty much instinctively knows who he is. This film had a $10 million budget. It made $12.2 million at the box office. So basically, it wasn't really seen by a whole lot of people at the theater, yet everybody knows this movie. Instinctively, like on sight, you know exactly who this is. So that brings up a really interesting point that I think I want to talk about briefly. And that is to explain to you why it is that we have what we see now in the so-called entertainment field. It's because if you were to have an Everyman, Peter Gibbons, the character that I pointed to from the movie Office Space, that everybody's seen, right? Like even though you didn't know, in fact, they kind of went out of their way to make sure that you didn't see it, but yet everybody saw that movie. And it had a tremendous impact. I couldn't tell you anything about Avatar. They spent all that money. I couldn't tell you anything about it. I couldn't even remember the character's name. I know there was blue people. That's it. But I know people that can quote the movie Office Space almost line for line. Same thing with Idiocracy. Idiocracy, the character Joe, right? The average Joe. In fact, it's a main plot point to point out that he is literally the average Joe in that movie. Yeah, that's because people can connect with those guys. It's hard to connect with superheroes. It's hard to connect with these kinds of things. So Hollywood pushes this idea to distract you from the three real villains that actually exist in the real world right now. Who are they? Bankers, corporate oligarchs, and your government. That's it. Those are the three. And when I say the government, I don't just mean some politician somewhere. No. It's all the people that enforce all their bullshit too. So pigs and military as well. So yeah, so while you're watching these propaganda movies about, some super villain from another dimension and shit like that, yeah, the actual villains are the people that are here in front of you. So if you were to make a movie set in today's world right now with an Everyman type character, a Peter Gibbons type character right now, who would be the evil who would be the evil antagonist? Probably CEOs, bankers, etc. Yeah, do you see what I mean? That's why they can't make movies like that anymore. That's why they can't do it. That's why they have to give you just endless amounts of dog shit movies that are they're not even really entertainment. They're basically just commercials for some giant corporate Borg system. So, in case you were wondering why that is, why those characters resonate with so many people, it's because they're just sort of an everyman. They fit into this. For women, if you want to use some action movies, they're a little bit more heavy budget intensive, but you could use Ellen Ripley from Alien or Aliens respectively, which is, Ridley Scott and James Cameron. Who is Ellen Ripley? She's just a chick who worked on a ship. That's it. She wasn't a superhero, nothing. She was basically just a loader who worked on a ship. So she was a shipping and receiving clerk. The other one would be Sarah Connor, another James Cameron movie. Who was Sarah Connor? Sarah Connor was just some waitress who had a roommate, and if you asked her how her day was, and if she liked her job, she'd probably say, it depends on the day you ask me. Because people can relate to that. No weird affliction, no crazy backstory, no nonsense about, being, this is none of that stuff. And it's the same true with all of these characters that we've talked about so far. There's no weird backstories. There's no alcoholism. There's no drug abuse. There's none of that stuff. These are just regular people living regular lives, which is pretty much like 99% of the population out here. Regular people living regular lives, and they're caught in an unusual set of circumstances. Now that I've deconstructed for you, for the most part, like a lot of fiction, maybe you'll start to see this stuff more in the real world, and you'll start to understand why it is that modern fiction and entertainment is just going to get shittier and shittier until somebody finally decides to break the mold and say, okay, that's it. What if we just had a regular guy who's finally had enough of it